Okay, so what do you know? What do you know? Okay, don't get mad. Imagine for a second all of the knowledge in the universe being represented in a pie graph. We've all seen a pie graph. If you haven't seen one, if you're blind, I'm sorry, but you know what a pie is, a circle. Imagine if all of the knowledge in the universe could be represented in a pie graph. You think about, okay, all of the knowledge in the universe, let's think about that for a second. What does that mean? All of the knowledge in the universe, every planet, every star, every galaxy, every black hole, whatever, if there's such thing as a black hole, I don't know. There's something to that effect out there they call black holes. Down to the microscopic. And that you could think of that even just on this planet alone. It's mind-boggling. Did any one of us know all of the knowledge that this planet would contain in the ocean, on the floor of the ocean, beneath the floor of the ocean, every mountain, everything, like down to the, and to multiply that. So all of the knowledge in the universe represented in this pie graph. And so what if all of the knowledge of humanity was represented as a piece of that pie? How big would that piece be? All the knowledge in the universe, and all the knowledge of humanity. And maybe then all of the knowledge that humanity will ever know. Maybe that piece gets a little bit bigger, depending on how much longer we have on this planet as a race. Okay, and then now how much do any one of us know? Compared to all the knowledge in the universe, how much do any one of us know? If you think of it like that, and the most accomplished, most intelligent, most educated, most industrious, most multilingual, talented person has ever lived or will live doesn't really know much more than a newborn baby, or an unborn baby for that matter. See how I did that? We need to humble ourselves when we think about who God is and what kind of a God is. You look at creation and come to understand that there's one creator. There's the whole idea. It's so popular now. The idea that all roads go to heaven, which is really insane if you think about that. And if you try to find an example of that anywhere on this planet or in the whole universe, where all roads could possibly lead to one place. That makes no sense. Think about what your address is. You live on one street. All roads do not lead to your home or anywhere. In academia, there's so much misunderstanding, so much idolatry in academia. At least here, I know in the States there is. I had a professor a long time ago that was a philosophy professor, which, by the way, if you've not taken philosophy classes, that's probably great. It's a very strong chance you might not ever need to. But anyway, and some philosophers have said some good things, but a scary thing about studying philosophy, there's so many so-called great thinkers that get vaunted up as they're like idols. They literally do. Like whoever you want to talk about, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, any of them, Descartes. I said, I think, therefore I am. That's such a what a deep thought, huh? But a lot of the philosophers and psychologists, they disagree with each other. And Plato even believed that there was no such thing as absolute truth. For somebody who's so smart, can you realize how silly that is? He said some smart things, smart sounding things, but him and his teacher Socrates and Aristotle, they were famous for also being child predators. And of course, and they're modern day idols in academia and universities all over the United States. But I had this one professor, he really prided himself on trying to make the few Christians that were in the class to feel stupid for believing in God. And I remember one girl, she just was brought to tears. And And by the grace of God, I was not a Christian at the time, but I had enough sense back then at least to stick up for her because she was getting ganged up on. And the professor was like the leader of that gang, kind of encouraging everybody to laugh at her for believing in God and laughing at her for believing what the Bible says. And the professors, they'll play on the students' ego. They'll tell you that you're so smart, you're so amazing because you take classes at a college that you're too smart to believe in God. You wouldn't want to believe that. You don't want to read that Bible. You don't want to believe it. You don't want to read that. And you run into people that tell you that only crazy people read the Bible, and then there will be other people that say, "Oh, you're too stupid to understand the Bible." And so, why is it that the Bible is the one book that all these professors don't want you to read? Think about that. What do they stand to lose if you read the Bible? And what do they stand to gain if you don't? That's a whole other subject right there. The rabbit trail I'm not going to go down, but just think about that. The Bible says that a fool says in his heart that there is no God. Only a fool could say that. Only a fool could say that. And the same professor there, they talk about what heaven could be anything that you want it to be, which is real common, the New Age garbage that's everywhere, where everybody gets to be their own little God and make up their own little rules and their own morality. And of course they act surprised if any one of the 10 commandments in the Bible were broken against them. If somebody, the first two wouldn't count, obviously, because that's the commandments against idolatry and graven images and having another God beside themselves. But if anybody stole something from them, if anybody killed them or spread a false rumor about them, or just coveted anything and wanted to steal anything that they had, they would know that that's wrong. Think about even just for any example from the world. If somebody walked up to you and robbed you at gunpoint and took all of your stuff, you would know that was absolutely wrong. But these philosophy professors, they want to get you in a debate, at least this particular philosophy professor, about, what if the robber wanted to do something good with that money? I'm like, okay, well, what if it was you who he robbed? A lot of them, they don't know. That's something, but if you bring up points and if you ask them questions about life and the source of life and the possibility of afterlife, they might flatter you and tell you and thank you for asking good questions and good discussion and stuff like that. But oh my goodness, the arrogance of people that are so finite and limited. They look up at the stars. Some of them been traveled, flying around the world, seeing all kinds of different things, different parts of the world. They watch the sunset and the sunrise, and they know how they see that there's a relationship between the moon and the ocean tide, but they can't imagine anything greater than themselves. Can you imagine? See how silly that is? We're surrounded with mystery. Look at the clouds. Look at the clouds on any given cloudy day. How much do those clouds weigh? They have to weigh something, right? They're full of water. People don't know, though. People have no idea. People have no idea how much the clouds weigh. They don't know how to weigh the clouds. Anyway, so yeah, I want to help you with perspective. Like, what do you actually know, and how desperately, when you realize how finite we are compared to a God that holds the universe together, knows everything. God is spirit. He's not a physical being that has to travel and to get places on a plane or anything like that, like we do. I mean, you think about it, you could put a monkey on a plane and fly it around the world. And if that monkey had a passport, it could get its passport stamped in countries all around the world. But when it comes back and gets off the plane, it's still just going to be that same old monkey, just a little bit older. Anyway, it's a short video. What do you know? It's a fair question. Ask me, what do I know? I know Jesus is coming back.